Hello, everybody. It's my privilege to introduce to you, all the way from the south side of Chicago, the man, the myth, the legend, my Theo, your brother, the Southside Unicorn.
Meeting you with a view to a kill, face to face in secret places, feel the
Hey, everybody, that's right. It's Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show, and I am glad to be back on the microphone, spitting in your ear. We had a show planned for 2 weekends ago, as you know, and based on the tragedies, the mass shootings, and the nexus between that show and those unfortunate incidents, we just dropped that show altogether because it just cut too close to home. But there were some things I wanted to try to warn you all about, and part of those things are still happening. So in this show, we're going to get those parts out to you so that you can understand exactly what's going on with this so-called election, campaign season and all those things. There's a plot in play, ladies and gentlemen, and it's still playing itself out even today. But we're going to go ahead and move forward with the show and get back into the rhythm. The Southside Unicorn Show is an extension of me, and I feel my life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure a lot of you understand what I mean by that. And unfortunately, those shootings, the mass shootings 2 weekends ago, based on the information I was trying to impart on you all, it hit me pretty hard. It knocked me back on my heels. And, I had to get back in my war room, my prayer closet, and get myself back together to get back out here and do what I'm doing, which is speaking, truth to the issues. So, without going further into it, I want to take this moment to pay our respects to officers who have fallen in the state of California over the past few days. It's been a rapid fire situation out here for those of you who live in California, for those of you who don't know. So I want to do that right now and make that first and foremost.
Shots fired. Officer down. I repeat, officer down. Shots fired. Suspect down. Request EMT immediately.
At this time, we want to pay respects to Highway Patrolman, California Highway Patrol Officer Andre Moye Jr., badge number 21641. He was involved in an officer-involved shooting 2 days ago on August 12th, and he was struck by the assailant's weapon and succumbed to his injuries. 2 other officers were injured at that same time. Responding officers were able to lay down fire and neutralize the active shooter. And that's one. And then weeks ago, we lost a Los Angeles police officer, Juan Jose Diaz. He was with his family in an off-duty format on July 27th when he was fatally shot near a taco stand near area Avenue 26 and Artesia Street. Now, he had come across some taggers and doing his civic duty, which is, hey, don't be tagging, don't be messing up the community. Unfortunately, I guess unbeknownst to him, he ended up messing with what was called the Avenues Gang. This gang has been notorious throughout the Los Angeles area for many years. In 1995, they actually gunned down a family that got lost in their community. Some of you might remember that. And a 3-year-old girl was shot. They terrorized members of the community, African Americans, everybody, and they took the life of young Officer Diaz, who had only been on the department 2 years. In regards to the shooting again with CHP Officer Andre Moyes Jr., he had been on the department for 4 years. And, going back to my time as a peace officer, I remember being trained where they said there's no such thing as a routine traffic stop. And that was proven in Riverside, California 2 days ago, because it was just unfortunate serendipity where a man, the shooter, was going through his own personal, life crisis. He was having his own personal life crisis, and they intersected. The officer was doing his job. That vehicle that the subject was driving, required impounding, and he had made the decision to do that. As this man was taking property out of his vehicle, he decided to go in another direction and drew out a rifle and started firing. He had already called his wife and asked her to come and help him get his items out, but somewhere between her coming and the shooting, he just decided to do something different, and it cost us the life of one of our best citizens. And even as we're speaking, it appears breaking news that in Philadelphia, 5 police officers have just been shot. Praying for them and their well-being. It's still developing, so we don't have much more than that. If you want to get more information, tune into your local stations and learn the developments as they come out. If we get any more information during the course of the show, of course we will share it and get that out to you. But this stuff is coming down the pipe, rat-a-tat, fashion. It's coming down real fast. And so I guess when you take in, if you can take it in, 5 officers in Philadelphia shot. 2 young officers, neither one above the age of 35, are dead in California now. And then I have to wrestle with the images that I saw 2 weeks ago in New York City, where young African Americans are pouring water on police officers, dousing them with water in a disrespectful manner. Not because it's 100 degrees, not because they're trying to say, hey officer, I want to cool you off because I know you hot with that bulletproof vest on and all that gear. It's got to be pretty hot on you. No, that's not why they were doing it. They were doing it to be insulting and disrespectful. And my mind just kind of converges the two, because there was a time when I wore the badge and uniform. And I sit there and I go, my God, you're dousing this cop with water. And he could be living the last 10 minutes of his life in service to you. America, ladies and gentlemen, we got some work to do. We got to get these young people back on the right track, and we got to be bold enough to do it, because as you can see, there's so much at stake. So much at stake. So giving respect and recognition again to California Highway Patrol Officer Andre Moyes Jr. and to Los Angeles Police Officer Juan Jose Diaz. May God bless your families, both your bio families and your blue families, with flights of angels. And as it said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be known as the children of God.
Shots fired, officer down. I repeat, officer down. Shots fired, suspect down. Request EMT immediately.
Yeah, it's really too bad that these things are happening this way. It's only August, and it looks like we've lost 71 officers already in this year. 66 males, 7 females. California has the highest number of officers lost, being 6 in the state of California alone. This is just ridiculous, When you consider that even 2 of the officers that they count as fallen in this year they died related to contact with the 9/11 situation. That means they went and responded to the terrorist attack on 9/11, and their deaths were attributed to that incident. So it took quite a lot of years, but we lost them too. Of the 73 officers, it looks like 30 of them, the highest number of deaths was caused by gunfire. And soon after that, the next number is 12 were by auto accident. But be it whatever it is, we have lost 73 officers, and let's pray that that's the number and that's where it stays, given what's going on in Philadelphia right now. 73. We have got to care. We have got to understand this. We have got to fix the dialogue or the rhetoric that's being put out, especially like with Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren is trying to revisit the Brown Ferguson shooting, and that is so disrespectful. I can't even imagine how she could call herself a senator, let alone wanting to run for the office of president. And she's berating law enforcement. She's insulting the integrity of the thin blue line. That case is settled and done. There are many cases out there, and that one is done, and justice was served in that regard. Our political leaders are the first ones who should show our peace officers better respect. We all need to do that. I mean, I look at it in a now type of situation. Whenever I see an officer, I always show them respect, because you never know. You don't know what he or she just left, what situation that was they just left, or what it is they could be going to. And so always being mindful of that. I had a situation in San Bernardino years ago where several officers had to respond and help me out with a situation I was dealing with. Little did we know, two of those officers would then respond to a house in San Bernardino, California, and it was packed full of gangbangers. And what did they do? They laid down gunfire on them, striking the field training officer. He went down, and the rookie had to hold himself together and manage to control the situation and neutralize the threat. And they had just been with me 5 minutes before that shootout. These men and women who put on these uniforms, I have nothing but respect for them. Do some of them do it wrong? Of course they do. That's with any job, because it's human beings that fill the positions. But when you consider what these people are up against when they don the uniform and that badge, they are totally deserving of our respect and admiration. And I think that's a movement that we need to get behind. Our president's behind it, so we need to get behind it too, and start making it something very real. This is segment one down, and we have to do what we got to do, which is pay those bills. So we'll be going to a station break. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
Hi, Joy Villa here, reminding you to tune in to the Southside Unicorn Show, hosted by my friend Ken White.
Hey, we're back in the second segment, and we will just keep on keeping on, trying to push through it, getting our feet wet back in the game about the show, because I'm telling you, 2 weekends ago, that was a humdinger, and we'll get into more of what that was all about in segment 3 and 4. You're going to want to stay and hear it, because if you're on the Facebook, which you should be, if you're on the Twitter, which you should be, then you saw it go down in real time. You saw the postings that I made. You followed what I was laying down, which was I had an epiphany about why in the world is Biden running for president? Why is he doing it? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I figured it out. I know exactly why Biden is running for president, and it's not what people think. And that's what led us to, the situation we had 2 weekends ago, where some of the information I was going to impart on you it just seemed inappropriate, because I promise you part of it, and I have people who verified it, because I did explain it to them in a one-on-one situation. I said, don't be going to no Walmarts. You don't want to do that, because that's going to be a very bad place to be on the weekends. So I just felt, putting that show out like that was inappropriate. But given that there's other data attached to it, I gotta find a way to get the rest of it out to you. So we're gonna be pushing forward. But right now, we're gonna, talk about Bam Margera. how many of you remember Bam Margera? You know, he had that show on MTV where they just did all kind of stupid things. I mean, slamming skateboards over each other's heads and all that stuff. And then, you know, somewhere in there, and he was a happy young man. I like Bam Margera, you know, he's a pretty cool young man. Somewhere in there, he got addicted to drugs. And, you know, it does what it does. That's why I have a hard time with drug dealers. I don't like them. I feel about them the same way China feels about them. Anybody who would sell drugs to a human being for money, man, you lower than low. And I don't want to hear any of that crap like Biggie Smalls. Well, I had to feed my baby. I had to do these. Everybody's got to feed their baby. But you ain't got to feed it off the souls of other human beings. Come on, cut it out. You know, oh, if I didn't sell it, somebody else would. Then let somebody else do it. And don't you be the one selling drugs to a human being, because then you create these sad stories like the one with Bam Margera. Bam Margera got, you know, hooked on drugs and was out there doing some pretty foolish stuff. Let's see here. Let's get this going here. Yeah, and guess what happened today? Because, see, sometimes you got to reach rock bottom, is what they say when it comes to this drug thing or alcohol addiction thing. You gotta get so low down that there's nowhere else for you to go but up. But when it came to Bam Margera, he had run into Dr. Phil. And so, you know, I'll just read a little caption about it, because it seems that it's not working so good for him right now. Bam Margera was arrested earlier Wednesday morning in the lobby of a Los Angeles hotel for trespassing. The arrest comes just a few days after the former Jackass star left rehab. According to TMZ, police were called to the Lux Hotel after Bam allegedly harassed hotel patrons and refused to leave. TMZ obtained video of the bizarre incident, which shows the one-time reality TV star sitting on the ground of the hotel while a police officer pleads with him to get up. Quote, "I know you want to beat me up so bad," he says, presumably the officer, during a video of the incident, which was obtained by TMZ. The details surrounding the arrest are bizarre, as Bam claimed a woman paid him $100,000 to catch her husband cheating. He stuck to that story, as the officers told him she had more officers en route to defuse the scene. The officer said to Bam Margera, quote, "You're a grown adult at this point. It's time to start acting like one." The officer can be heard telling Bam Margera, adding that she knows who he is. She knows he's fresh out of rehab. "This is embarrassing. Not for me, for you." Bam was eventually arrested for trespassing and is reportedly being held on $1,000 bail. Man, you know, he managed to get Dr. Phil to agree to meet with him. The meeting, TMZ said, also included Bam's wife, Nikki, and his mom, April. Eventually, the former MTV star agreed to admit himself into a live-in rehab facility for a program requiring an extended stay that could have lasted at least 60 to 90 days. The meeting with Dr. Phil came after Bam was kicked off an airplane for allegedly drinking. Well, if you've ever had somebody in your life that's struggling with drugs and alcohol, the first time they go into rehab may not be the last time. I know in the hearts of the family members and friends, you're thinking, good, go in and get some help, you know. But oftentimes that first time isn't the one. Ironically, I had an employee that was a very special young lady. I could see it in her, and we all put in the effort with her. No names mentioned. And, you know, she had to go in quite a few times. There were people that were like, "What in the world are you doing? Let this person fail." No, it's not about letting them fail, so to speak. Even her parents were like, you know, "You're part of the problem because you keep helping her." No, it's not about helping or enabling. But you don't leave anybody out there in this world totally alone. You just don't do that. Sometimes you won't get that person back. Let's pray that Bam Margera makes it back to his family and his loved ones. You know, that reminds me of Robert Downey Jr. and John Travolta. They were both touch and go for a while, if you recall. And now look at, Robert Downey Jr. The man is on top of his game. He's making more money than he ever thought he could. And speaking of that, Avengers Endgame was released yesterday. It is now the top grossing movie in history. And they're going to make a little bit more money because they just put that thing out on DVD and all that good stuff. So, I know I'm going to get me a copy, or at least, try to get over to somebody's house who has it and watch it over there. Because that is definitely the movie. If you have not seen Avengers Endgame, if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, is it Endgame? Yeah. And then you want to catch the other ones before that. My hat's off to Marvel. Marvel kicked butt when it came to doing the Avengers, franchise. It was just awesomely done, good stuff, and I'm totally, down for them. Now, since we all up in this movie star thing and celebrities, Robert Downey Jr., Bam Margera, let's go ahead and have some fun with this idea. They always say, what's in a name? Like, for example, if your name was John Ferrier, chances are you put horseshoes, or your family put, shoes on horses. If your name was Smith, you made stuff. Stuff like that. If your last name was Cobbler, you made shoes. Well, what do you do if your name is ASAP? ASAP Rocky is who I'm really talking about. I guess that means you get to get out of jail ASAP. Well, that's not necessarily true, unless, when you're in jail in Sweden, they get a phone call from the President of the United States of America, a.k.a., what happens? That just jumped out of my... Because I was going to say something else, and then it just, got all messed up. Donald J. Trump. I was going to say ESG. Most of y'all don't know what the ESG stands for, but, Donald J. Trump declared himself the extremely stable genius. And I like using it every now and then. I do the hashtag ESG, So, yeah, if your name is Rocky ASAP or ASAP Rocky, yeah, you can get out of jail pretty ASAP if the president calls up and says, let this man out. But as it appears, he was indeed found guilty, but he will not be doing any jail time. Ain't nobody going to come trying to get him and all that kind of stuff, because he's back on, American soil. So good luck, Sweden trying to get him back over there and get him arrested. But here comes the kicker, y'all. It is painfully clear that the phone call from the United States president is what got this man released. But when he was asked his opinion on the, conviction today, this is a quote from, Rocky ASAP about what went down. Take a listen. I am, of course, disappointed by today's verdict. I want to say thanks again to all my fans, friends, and everyone who showed me love during this difficult time, he wrote on Instagram. I'ma keep moving forward. Thank you to my team, my management, attorney, label, and everyone who advocated for justice. That's his quote, y'all. Nothing about, gee, thank you, Mr. President. Gee, thank you, ESG. Gee, thank you, Donald J. Trump. He could have even said thank you to the Orange Man or whatever. He didn't even mention him. Now, this is getting kind of old, the way black folks are treating this president. You're embarrassing yourselves. You need to chill out. Because I'm going to tell you something. When this man is done, and let's hope he's got, 5.5 more years. That's my hope. I don't want him gone till 2024. But when he's gone, I promise you, you're going to miss him too, Black America, because you don't understand what really is going down. And I think when it comes to Mr. Rocky ASAP, you need to go ahead and do another release on yourself there, Mr. ASAP Rocky, And don't forget to thank the people who really helped you. Because before President Trump got involved in the game, you was chilling. You was going to be over there with, with the wooden shoes and whatnot and be locked up is what was probably going to happen. So, up your game, partner, and go ahead and give the president some props and some respect on what the heck happened with you getting released from prison and all that cool stuff. Speaking of ungrateful people, let's go ahead and push this out right quick. I like fencing. I always have. I fancied it even when I was a kid because I would watch the Earl Flynn movies, and those were called swashbucklers, and there was Earl Flynn doing his thing, just got the sword going on. Love fencing. Even got involved in it for a little while myself. Had the little white suit, everything. It was interesting. And what do we get? We got some young Americans over here in Lima, Peru, doing the fencing competitions, and they won. And a young man named Race Imboden, you know what he did, right? When it was time to do the ceremony and show some props and show some respect for the people who won, and he was one of them, my man's in them gets up there, and this white boy kneeling. He did what? He kneeled at a fencing competition, okay? You guys are tired. I mean, from A$AP Rocky not giving respect to the president for getting your butt released from jail, to this dude, he's got a pretty cool name. I got to give it to him, Race Imboden, and he's a world-class fencing champion. But this fool gonna get up there and kneel, talking about he wants to show solidarity for the oppressed people in America, and then gonna turn back around in his quote in the paper when people ask him, like, fool, why'd you do that? He's like, oh, I love America. I love my country. How you gonna say that? And you overseas, you off CONUS, which is continental United States. You off the land, representing us in a foreign land, and you gonna kneel saying, my people over in America oppressing people. You young people really need to get y'all act together, and you need to cut it out, because I promise you, what's gonna happen is y'all gonna get slapped in the mouth. Not physically by one person walking up and slapping you in the mouth. Not like that at all. History's gonna slap you in the mouth, because you're gonna lose everything your grandparents, your parents, that everybody pursed you. You're gonna just go ahead and give this up, and then you're gonna be crying like little babies. I want my freedom back. Give me back my freedom. No, it don't work like that, son. So you better learn to respect it while you got it, because it can be taken just like that. And speaking of just like that, we'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned.
Hey, my name is Toot Sweet, and I'm New York City's original artist, singing for the cause of freedom. I've spent the last 10 years of my life documenting history through my music. It's like a recipe that's blessing me, bringing out the best of me, aggressively testing me to create my own destiny and understanding, universally accepting adversity and learn more lessons in life than you're learning any. And when I'm in need of a dose of reality to escape the liberal land of make-believe, I tune in to the Southside Unicorn, where the truth is as solid as New York City concrete. My name is Toot Sweet, and you're listening to my friend Kent White on the Southside Unicorn, and this party's just getting started.
Hey, we're back with segment 3, and I'm glad you hanging out with me. So yeah, let's just keep on kicking the ballistics and having this conversation, shall we? Yeah, all of you guys have got to know about my man's and them, Chris Cuomo, right about now. Chris Cuomo, just like his brother, it just seems like we were just talking about names, like Cobbler and all of that, and A$AP. What is a Cuomo? Because it seems to me all them Cuomos is whack, man. They got some issues going on. Everybody's trying to, refigure this dude, Chris Cuomo, as some type of Italian tough guy, Guess he must have had an IROC Z out front of the club that he got into this little argument with this dude. Everybody, I'm sure you've heard it, especially if you're into radio and the talk shows. everybody's played the loop, so I'm not going to do that. We're just going to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Look, man, what's in a name, right? A rose by any other name, shall it smell just as sweet? You know? This man is nutting up because this dude going to call him Fredo. You know, talk about having a chip on your shoulder. Talking about, you know, having a whacked ego. This is bad mojo, man. Bad mojo, Chris Cuomo. Dude, you even got like Geraldo Rivera and everybody trying to stick up for him. Hannity, because, you know, Hannity be breaking boards with his hand and whatnot. You know, he's a kung fu fighter or something. So, you know, everybody's got something tough to say. Well, look, let me go ahead and put my little part in there. You know, and I'm curious to see what Dan Bongino thinks about this. So I guess I'll go on Twitter and try to look up what he's feeling about this, you know, having his expertise. But yeah, let me go ahead and kick the ballistics on this for those of you who don't know. United States Air Force law enforcement specialist, California sworn peace officer, prisoner transport officer, inbound bodyguard, executive protection. I could go on and on about the things I've done in my life. I mean, the people that I bodyguarded, you watch them on TV every day. I never speak about my client list. But if you knew my client list, your jaw would drop to the ground. Okay? So I'm speaking from a position of experience and knowledge. I am a recognized professional in the law enforcement and security game. I just don't put the hat on that much anymore these days. Chris Cuomo, let me talk to you, homie, partner. Let me break this down to you. And then let me break this down to all of you, because with all due respect, my friend Mo Kelly chimed in last night. And, you know, like I said, I have much respect for Mo. You know, me and Mo are kind of on different polarities. Like he always tells me, try to school me up and be like, Kenny, you always making things about politics. I didn't start that. You know, everything's about politics these days. And I'm not the one that started that game. I just play that game. But now, you know, even Mo Kelly jumped in on it. And he said, you know, don't be messing with people, with celebrities when you see them out in public, because you might get hurt. You might start some stuff. And I got to say, I agree with him to a point. I even agree with what Chris Cuomo did to a point. But when he starts to threaten people and make terrorist threats to an unvetted subject that he doesn't know, and he doesn't even have a bodyguard with him, the only people that were with Chris Cuomo was his wife and his child. You about to get up into a fight with a man, you about to have attitude, you thinking about throwing hands with a man with your wife and your child with you in this day and age? People dropping like flies, people reaching down in their coats and coming up with bazookas. And Chris Cuomo, you ready to beat a man up because he called you Fredo. Go ahead and listen to the video, y'all. I mean, you know, some cat broke out his iPhone and started taping it and whatnot. So you'll be able to see it and hear it. The parts that aren't beep, beep, bleep, 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 bleep. It's so many bleeps in it. And none of them are coming from, I guess you call him an actual troll. You know, sometimes you get trolled on Facebook or whatever. But this guy was a real live, no joke troll all up in his face, you know. And Chris Cuomo didn't have the good sense to pack the family up, act like you didn't hear this dude, or even if you had to say a little bit to him, keep it trucking, keep it moving. Don't ever do that. So I'm offering this up to all of you out there. Don't ever seek a confrontation. Don't ever seek a confrontation. It won't end the way you think it will. Somebody gonna get hurt. Somebody might even lose their life, and it could be you, or your wife, your child, your friends. You don't know how things are going to bust off, you know. Case in point, I'm not judging what happened, but in the earlier segments, you know, I told you about the Los Angeles police officer who is now deceased, and he was simply trying to stop some young people from tagging. Spray painting, that's what tagging is. And they pull up the Mohaskis. They pull up the heaters. You know what I'm saying? They pull up the straps. And they busting, you know, bullets at people. So here's Chris Cuomo. Guy's clearly bigger than him anyway. In the video, that's what you can see. Oh, and you mad because he called you Fredo Cuomo because that's some nickname that Rush Limbaugh gave you. And you mad because the kid tried to tell you, well, I thought that was your name. Now, maybe he was clowning you. Maybe he was trolling you. But Chris, you got your family with you, homie. We see what matters the most to Chris Cuomo. His ego. That's the biggest and most important thing to this man. And for you, Geraldo, why are you sticking up for the wrong characters lately, man? You're sticking up for Chris Cuomo, acting a fool. You're sticking up for Don Lemon when he did the most hackiest, redunculous job of a moderator for a political event I've ever seen. You know, there used to be a time when African Americans would bring their A game to whatever they were doing because we were denied so many opportunities. Every now and then, I call him, Don Lemming, but his name is Don Lemon. Every now and then, Don Lemon tries to put on the black, hat and say, hey, I'm representing my people. Whatever that was you did during the debates, dude, you was way off base. That was so disrespectful, so ugly, so biased, so blatant. And we wonder why people running around here hating, why people running around here mad, because you guys are filling their heads full of junk. Chris Cuomo, you wrong. But guess what? Here's the irony on you. You did exactly what a Fredo would do. And you mad because people calling you Fredo. No, they naming you right, cuz you are a Fredo. You that little dumb brother. And then you gonna try to say it's like the N-word. Look, I can see somebody walking up to some brother and be like, what you doing here, Fredo? You better get up out of here, Fredo. It's a little dark around here, Mr. Fredo. And you say that's like the N-word? Come on, man. You guys are y'all losing it on the left in the Democrat Party. What's wrong with y'all, man? Fredo. Fredo just means some cat that's a little off, a little less than what's right. And for me, any man in a public setting squaring up with a stranger while literally holding his wife's hand in one and his baby's hand in the other, and you gonna get all hard with a dude you don't even know and you don't know what he's about? Yeah, that makes you pretty dumb, man. So shame on you. I hope your partner's listening. I hope she will school you up so the next time she lets you get out to play, you know how to play well with others. And this is just a extra thing for those of you who have the ability to do it. In this day and age, since Maxine Waters, and that's the part where Mo Kelly got kind of mad at me. If you check it out on Twitter, you'll see where he told me, he said, Kenny, you always making things about politics. Maxine Waters is the one that said, if you see them out there, get in their face. What, you think that works one way? It's like, it's like my man Dre. Be like, you think I sold them all? You think they only made one gun? Come on, man. If you're going to be talking that kind of crazy, that thing works both ways. That works both ways. So, to all of you celebrities out there, look at here. Consider getting yourself some bodyguards, even one. And, understand what Mo Kelly was trying to say. He said, Kenny, the man's on vacation. A celebrity is never on vacation. Here I am. I call myself a minor celebrity. We got a little bit of stuff. You Google me and stuff pops up and all that. Here I am in Las Vegas on a little getaway. And I got recognized. 3 people recognized me and came up to me. Thank God it was a positive. Thank God they liked my show. Thank God they didn't have like tomatoes and pies in their hands or whatever. So it was a good encounter. But this is a day and age where if you put yourself out there in the public realm as a public figure, people are going to be coming up to you. How could Chris Cuomo not expect somebody to come at him? And to come back with that kind of attitude, I'm just floored by it. I don't understand it, and I don't think it's quite right. Because, think about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. God bless her. I call her, to me, she's a shield maiden. She's a beautiful woman inside and out. Her strength, it commands your admiration when you see the strength coming out of, Sarah Huckabee. She was trying to have dinner with her family. And up come a bunch of wacky leftist, crazy Democrats. And they basically ran her up out of there. You didn't see her turn around and try to get all hard with him. You know, the McConnell just had some people outside his house chanting, you know, stab him up, kill him, you know, and you didn't see him doing anything like that. So what is it about Chris Cuomo that made him think that it was okay to challenge, I mean, literally challenge this guy to a duel, you know? Rush Limbaugh said it best. He said, hey, I'm glad Chris Cuomo didn't have a gun. he might have bust a couple, you know? And this is the hypocrisy, the redunculousness of the left. You guys can dish it out, but you sure can't take it. Now, I don't understand that, man. You know, I just don't get it, and it's not cool. But that's, you know, that's how you guys want to play the game. You know, back in the old days, they used to call that, don't do what I do, do what I say. But you Democrats and leftists aren't the boss of me. You ain't the boss of my friends. And, you know, watching you behave the way you did, that's just a quick example to the rest of us. We need to be leaving these Democrats alone, man. They going off the deep edge. You know, they sit there talking about some possible recession and whatnot. There ain't gonna be no damn recession. That's just them trying to mess with Donald J. Trump's incredible economy, you know, because just like Bill Maher said it himself, ooh man, what I wouldn't do for a good recession right now. So now they're sitting there talking about some reflective, let me see, I want to find the right word for it so I don't tell you guys wrong. Give me a second here, I'm gonna dig it up, because it's right here somewhere. I know I have it. I always try to keep the, you know, the basic information together for you guys. Yeah, some type of reflective thing going on with the economy, and they're gonna try to claim that that's gonna cause a recession. What they're trying to do, oh yeah, inverted yield curve, the inverted yield curve. You know, they say, oh, with an inverted yield curve, in exactly 14 months, we're gonna have the worst economy ever. Well, isn't it ironic that in about 14 months, we'll be knee-deep in an election? These cats are becoming so transparent, I can't take it no more. I don't know what to do with these Democrats, man. Leftists and all that stuff. I ain't trying to hate on you. Don't get it twisted. This ain't hate. This is just, what the hell's wrong with y'all, man? Ain't no recession. Ain't no reason for Chris Cuomo to be bowing up on people. Y'all need to calm down. We need to dial it down. We need to all just take a breath and go, take a nice deep breath and calm down. Geraldo, you mind your own business, partner. Mo, thank you for the advice and the great input, because as always, you know, I'm always learning from you. Mr. Chris Cuomo, take better care of your family, man. Family first. You know, you sit and talk about how much of an Italian you are. If I don't know anything about Italians, I know they love their families. You blew it on that one, partner. Speaking of blowing it, I'm a few seconds off on this commercial break, so go nowhere. We'll be right back.
Nightfall covers me, but you know the plans I'm making still overseas.
Hey, we're back for segment 4. Glad you came back to get a little bit more, because I got something here, man, that's show in store for you. I love your company. I love you listening to the show. And if you're really enjoying this show, which I hope you are, will you please retweet, like, share, donate? Come on now. Let's get this thing going. And I guess I got to explain it this way. On the Spreaker, SPREAKER.com, on the Spreaker, there's a thing on there that, like, you can become a member, like join my part of the show. Will you please join so the numbers go up? I want to thank everybody who has done that, because it put me in a position where I can realign myself with iHeartRadio. And so thank you so much for that. Ooh-wee. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it, you know. Now, Look, I tried to get a show out 2 weeks ago that was going to put y'all on tip about what's going on with Biden and all this stuff. But to put that show out, like I said, it would have been a little bit inappropriate because of what I had said, because of what I was trying to warn you all about. Get this in your head. Watch this. Okay, I told people, and all you got to do is go on my Facebook or my Twitter or talk to some of the people who follow me on those sites. 2 weeks ago, when I got the epiphany about Biden, I said to everybody, oh my goodness, I figured it out. Biden is nothing but a placeholder. He's like the pace car. He's there to keep those kids from flying off the rails. And as we saw in the last debate, because they're getting desperate for jockey position, they're ready to even tear into Obama. And that's what cannot happen, ladies and gentlemen. They cannot attack Obama. Why? Because he's coming back. Now let me explain it to you. You gotta get this. You gotta get this. I did the show on a Thursday night. Sometimes you do a show early and then you package it up and you time release it. And it was going to be time released for Sunday morning, as I promised a lot of my, loyal followers and listeners. I was going to release it, at that time. Well, as it would happen, unfortunately, come Saturday morning, there was all these shootings, and it made life really bad. And that was part of what I was trying to say. In order to bring Obama back, it's going to be a process. There's a process involved in bringing him back. It's not going to just be, we want to bring him back, because there's this pesky little thing about term limits, and he had already gone beyond the term limits, right? He did his 2 terms, and that would be the end of that. But what they want to do is go ahead and change the term limits and get it, where he can actually run again. And here's the process. You can't do it with Bill Clinton and Hillary about to go down. That's the Epstein factor in it, okay? You can't do it with the Second Amendment in place, because you know what most Americans would be about. We ain't having this, man. You're not going to just turn this into some, banana republic. So you got to get that Second Amendment out of the way. And the Second Amendment is the first drill bit into the ground, because if you can begin to touch the amendments, then you can touch all of them. Which, if you check the news, now that it's been 2 weeks, see, I'm kind of like 2 weeks behind in what I'm trying to tell you. If you check the news, you see that the Democrat Party is even threatening the Supreme Court. They're telling them, if you don't do what we want you to do, the next time we in, we're going to rewrite all of this stuff. We're going to go up in there, we're going to mess with all of the amendments. We're going to do, this is the game plan, ladies and gentlemen. And so, like I said in the show that did not get broadcast, don't go to Walmart. In fact, if you go back 2 shows on this show, the Southside Unicorn Show, if you go back 2 episodes ago, I am pretty sure I said that there'll come a moment when you're not going to want to go to any of those places, because they're going to use those places. I even put out a meme that said, be it natural or supernatural, the things that are starting to happen are happening on purpose. It's like the devil's trying to dial the Democrat Party back in. So now that I got that part out there, please understand, Biden is nothing but a placeholder. Al Sharpton threatening to run, and I use the word threatening to run for president, that's also part of the game. It's to galvanize the black vote. It's to try to bring it all back in because of Brexit and hashtag walkaway. All those programs have damaged the Democrat Party heavily. And so now they're trying to get everything put back in order. None of those people on the Democrat ticket right now could beat Trump. They don't stand a chance, and they know it. And oh, by the way, do you really think all these gaffes that Biden is making are real? It's for show, ladies and gentlemen. It's for show. He's not that whack. He's not that far gone. He's a pretty crisp man himself. Man himself. These things are being done so that it'll be plausible when he withdraws from the election. Because see, at a certain point in time in an election process, it's actually illegal to withdraw your candidacy, believe it or not, unless it's for medical reasons. You know, I want to put a shout out to one of my favorite listeners on the Twitter program here, Allison Marie Hoover. Her Twitter handle is at C4710N, like Nancy. And the way she has it put on her page, it goes C410N equals Kayshawn equals positive cat equals Ali. Now, I don't know if that's Ali or Ali, but that's what's up. Allison, I'm sending you much positive energy. You are one cool cat, girl. You know, I like the way you get down. She doesn't really go on either side of the fence. She's, you know, down with Mo. She's down with me. She's down with anybody that makes sense that ain't trying to be ultra political. And that's a good way to be. So I just want to put a shout out there for my girl, Allison Marie Hoover. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for tweeting, you know, everything that you do. And it's much appreciated. I guess that's the only way I can, you know, say that right now. Let me see. I got another shout out I want to do too, because there are so many people out there that are helping the show along, and I just want to make sure I don't miss everybody. I want to put a shout out to Katie Harvey Clapp. You know, Katie is cool people. She is down for the show too, and very much appreciated. Thank you very much for your love and support. And need the rest of you to just come on, get on down, and let's get into this. Now, we got a little bit of time left in the show, and I just want to get this out there about Mr. Epstein. Okay, first of all, let's recognize this one thing about Mr. Epstein. Whether he was the scum of the earth, whether he was a pedophile, low down, dirty dog, this man was an American. Being an American citizen, he was entitled to life, liberty, and due process. All of those things were supposed to be his. We even have bail systems that were put into place where, you know, you can actually get bail on certain. But this man is dead now or missing. But either way, unless he's in a witness protection program, let's say he's dead for real. Somebody killed that man. He did not commit suicide. And that was the promise I made you guys when I was tweeting all last night, that I found a chink in their armor about this, trying to convince us this man committed suicide. So let me get it out there real quick and succinct. One, if any of us had the body count that the Clintons have behind them, you'd be a prime suspect in the very next in the very next person that fell, in the very next person that died. You'd be a prime suspect in that person's death, because that ain't no coincidence that every time you turn around, you know, somebody's dying, and you know that just doesn't work like that. So let's get the reading on this Epstein thing, so maybe I can help you understand what I'm trying to say. The man did not kill himself, and here's the few breadcrumbs that are left out there for you to be able to see it. Epstein, 66, was being held in a special housing unit of the Metropolitan Correction Center in New York City, and was supposed to be checked every 30 minutes per jail procedure, but he wasn't. He was also supposed to have a cellmate, but a person who had been assigned to share a cell with Epstein was transferred on Friday for reasons that the investigators are still exploring. He did not receive a new cellmate. The person familiar with the matter said on Sunday night that left Epstein, who had previously been placed on suicide watch alone and unmonitored, at least in the hours before his death, by even those officers assigned to him. You know, sometimes these people write stuff really bad. I don't know how they have jobs. But the bottom line is, Epstein had a cellmate. The cellmate's name was Nicholas Targlione. Nicholas Targlione is an ex-cop, big one, but he went dirty. You know, he's a bad guy, you know, the bad lieutenant type of guy. Now catch this. Epstein is suicidal. Epstein is considering killing himself. Epstein wants to die, right? But he tells them he wants this man out of his cell He doesn't want him near him because he scares Epstein. Epstein was scared of him because he thought the man might hurt him. That's point one. If you're suicidal and a big rock-biting monster is in your cell with you, oh, you curse him out. You talk about his mama. You tell him that his teeth look bad because you know he gonna kill you. You suicidal, remember? You ready to die. So why would you get this man up out of your jail cell, right? But he was taken off suicide watch late last month at the request of his attorneys. People familiar with the matter said in the hours before his death, jail officials apparently failed to follow several protocols, leaving him alone and with minimal supervision. After Mr. Epstein was removed from suicide watch, he was downgraded to special observation status, which mandated that guards check on him every 30 minutes and also required him to have a cellmate. A person familiar with his detention said that. But in the hours before Mr. Epstein's death, his cellmate was gone, possibly out for a court appearance or another appointment, which is not true because he died on a Saturday morning. There are no court appearances on Saturday morning. And not quickly replaced as required. And Mr. Epstein wasn't receiving the regular check, the person said. They kill me with this, the person said, and they put it at the back end of it. These journalists and writers and whatnot need their butts whooped. Okay, ready? It was reported by other people in that prison. Screams could be heard coming from Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell the morning he was found dead, as correction officers worked frantically to revive him, urging, "Breathe, Epstein, breathe," right? That doesn't hold water, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't hold water. Because if you go by forensics, a hanging, a suicide by hanging, is another word for asphyxiation. Asphyxiation is the cutting off of oxygen to the brain and the body by putting a ligature around the neck and cutting off circulation and breathing. It is medically impossible to scream if you don't have oxygen in your lungs. And you don't, because you're being asphyxiated. So who did the screaming? If he indeed hung himself, it wasn't Epstein. So you take that back, because here's the deal. You eliminate the impossible, and no matter how improbable, whatever remains is the truth. So okay, fine. It's Epstein that's screaming. You don't scream, you don't get rid of a big bruising killer out of your cell if you're trying to die. That would tend to indicate that Epstein didn't want to die. Epstein was doing everything he could to stay alive, aka get this big fool out of my cell. That's one. Aka screaming. Screaming is a sound of duress. Screaming is a sound of trying to get help. It's a primordial whistle. So if all this screaming and kicking and fighting and get this fool up, Epstein did not want to die. These guys do everything right. These two guards did the picture perfect thing to do everything right to let this thing go down. They couldn't even protect a warm cup of urine the way they behaved. So let's just do the math. Let's say somebody bust out, this is hypothetical, let's say somebody bust out $20 million. Okay, you're a correctional officer, and based on the statistics that I pulled up, the average income of a federal correctional officer is $57,000. Okay, so you're going to get fired. You might get probation. Worst case, you're going to go to jail for 5 years. If you splitting $20 million between you and your partner to simply falsify your logs, don't see things that you're supposed to see, and all this kind of stuff, that means you're making $2 million a year for every year that you're in jail. I think that's a pretty good trade-off, don't you? I think that's pretty much what happened, ladies and gentlemen, and shame on them, for letting it go down like that. And that's my opinion on what went down with Epstein. Pretty sad. Catch up with you guys later. Thank you for listening to the show. There'll be more shows to come. In fact, we'll do another one tomorrow. Support the show. Donate, spread, share the word. Put your input in. Tell me what you think about what happened to Epstein. And we'll get back with you tomorrow. Thank you very much.